All right, Dan, we're back. Hi, everybody. This is Matt from the product team. This is actually the first of a new series product team's going to be putting on called Product Integrations. I am joined by a special guest today. I will introduce him here in a moment. Today's first episode on integrations is going to focus on our Create product line. So when Litera talks about, or Dan and I talk about our Create product line, or what we might refer to in today's session as new Create, is Innova, Forte, and Clause Companion. And so really what you'll see from us today is we have a design principle to simplify not only the front end of these applications, but also simplify the administration capabilities of these applications. And what we're also being asked from our customer base is to not only simplify, but to modernize and make these applications more extensible. I think that's even a truer point now with everybody working from home, needing to work from home on multiple types of devices. What you'll see is some new web capabilities coming for this new particular for this particular product line. So what Dan and I are going to be talking about today is the future of these products, what we're aiming for the late part of this year, the Q4 timeframe of this year. So before we jump in, I do want to introduce Dan Fisherman. He's a principal engineer on our software development team. Not only is he our principal engineer, he's the drummer for the Mommy Head. So I do want to give a shout out to the Mommy Heads. I am wearing my Mommy Head shirt today, Dan, for you.
Woohoo!
Get your merchandise at mommyheads.com or whatever your website is. Yeah. They do have a new single, Speaker Heart. The video is now live on YouTube.
I see a new day job for you, Matt.
That's right. Hey, I'm trying to get every like of or every view of their video. You're doing $1 to what was it? The Grail Fund?
Rising Ground.
Rising Ground. So do check out that video. But I digress. Dan, where are you calling in from today?
North of New York City, north of the epicenter. So.
And you are healthy and well, it looks like.
It looks that way, yeah.
All things considered.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, thank you for joining today. I know we've got quite a bit to cover. Do you want to kind of just jump right in?
Let's do it. I need to share my screen, right?
You do. All
right. So I guess I'm going to share screen one. Let's see what we get there. Did that do it?
Yep, I can see your deck now.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll talk about the new Create today. I guess what we'll cover is listed here. We're going to focus on three things in general. An overview of the Create web platform. We'll focus on some of the Create desktop add-in workflows and discuss the Create desktop. And then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about how the Create web platform allows us to go beyond the desktop and what some of the possibilities are with that. In talking about the web platform, we'll go through the platform architecture at a very high level. I'll introduce the Create API as well, also very high level. And then we'll move on to the desktop, discussing about the new UI, the new user experience. We'll go through some of the document creation workflows and how those have changed. And we'll talk about its relationship to our content library, specifically how Clause Companion and the Forte Innova template macro functionality have been combined. When we talk about beyond the desktop, we'll talk about leveraging, how we can leverage the web platform, how others can leverage the web platform, and we'll go through a couple of examples, one example on new workflow possibilities, and talk about how that ramifies in all sorts of ways. Okay, so we'll start off with the web platform. The web platform is a wordless document assembly engine, so the actual manipulation, the creation of documents happens outside of Word using Office OpenXML. And the platform then supports agnostic client applications, front-end applications. We don't care what those front-end applications are. They just leverage the functionality of the web platform. Of course, we're going to offer our desktop app, and as you'll see, there'll be other apps as well coming down the pipeline. The platform supports integration with external data sources, and you'll see how that's important as we talk about the workflows, and external content sources, external content providers. We currently do this in Content and Clause Companion right now with some AI content parsers. We're expanding that to iManage and SharePoint coming up as well, and we'll be able to stick all sorts of content providers in behind in the web platform. The platform also has UI support, which helps client applications develop create-like UIs, and I'll show you examples of that. The platform also not only generates docx files, but you can specify other file formats such as PDF. Because this is happening outside of Word, document creation is actually significantly faster, and so you can use it as a high volume document creation server. And it offers the potential for us to move into a SaaS offering in the future. Okay, so the architecture of the platform, again, I'll talk about it in very broad terms. I'll show the architecture diagram here. And is this something that you're seeing? Matt, can you see that?
It is not coming up yet.
Okay,
maybe you're just sharing the.
Oh yeah, I'm sharing. Yeah, so I need to go back and let's see. Start presentation. How about now?
We still only see the PowerPoint deck.
Okay,
maybe
hang
try
on.
to stop sharing and reshare and show desktop instead of maybe it's the applications.
Yeah, I have to get back to the Zoom presentation, so hang on. Zoom is, there it is, well, it says start Zoom. That's not right. Let's try this. No, that's me. Meeting controls. Fortunately, my meeting controls are not showing up.
At the top, if you go view options, and then I usually set it so that it's not full screen, and then the controls will be at the bottom of the screen. Then you should be able to share.
I click on me. Oh, there we go. It's on the different screen. There we go. So new share, and I'd love to share my desktop so I don't have to. We'll go here and we'll do this again because I don't know if there's no option for sharing the desktop, but now you should see it, right?
Yep, we got it now. Okay,
so let me go and maximize. All right, so this is the architecture for the Create web platform. And as you could see, everything in the large rectangle is the server. We have our client application sitting off to the left, and we have integration with the Litera authorization server, which will be used in all of the new versions of Litera apps. So we integrate with this as well. The key parts to this, and I don't want to go through this in too much detail, but the key parts to this are the core service site right here, which is the Create service site. And this is where the document creation actually happens. So client applications will make requests through a gateway, which will route the request to, in terms of document creation, will route it to the Create service site, which has an API that wraps the workhorse functionality of the platform. Obviously, there's a data source behind that houses all of the content and the configuration of the platform. And so requests will come in, they'll get handled by the service site and then returned back to the client in terms of the DOCX, for example. We actually return it back as what's called a base 64 string. The other side of this is that there are integration components here and integration service sites, and that's down here below the core service site. And so we have integration with DMS. We call this Grail, but that's our external data source, our contact integration, and our external content source as well. And you can see that these sites, which have the APIs on top of them and use the Create platform binaries, they actually go out to the third-party systems. So the client application has access to all of this through the APIs that are exposed. Okay, and I think I'll go then to the API. Let's see if I can get to this more smoothly than the last one.
Yep, it's coming up now.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. I think this is coming mostly because of the two screens that I have. Okay, so this is the API for Create. Again, I won't go through this on, but the highest level, and just give some examples, particularly for document creation. So we call our documents segments behind the scenes. And so you could make a call, or anybody, any client application can make a call for a particular segment to be created as completed content. And you would pass in, for example, a set of different IDs for the segments, and you'd get back the content for that. So you could request multiple documents from a client application. Notice that there are other methods here, other calls that you can make as well for segments. And then, for example, users get all sorts of possibilities in a client application. And this API is precisely what we use on our desktop app, and this would be exposed. The subset of these would be exposed for other apps as well, for third parties. Okay, and let's move back to there we go. We're back on the, Matt, I take it the presentation, is that right?
Yep, PowerPoint back up.
Yep, okay, good. All right, so let's, now that we've talked about the web platform, let's give some overview of the desktop add-in. Right now, the desktop add-in that we're talking about is a Visto add-in. We're redoing, we're putting a new UI on top with, that's in WPF. It, as I said, will leverage the web platform using the REST API. And it's going to offer all the functionality of Forte, Clause Companion, and Innova, which would include traditional template functionality. I know in Forte we haven't called it templates, but things like letters, memos, faxes, etc., pleadings. It will have full feature document assembly, just like Forte did. And it will have the clause content library of Clause Companion.
So I'll add one thing to that last bullet there, which is we are looking to consolidate the add-ins. So these are 3 separate add-ins today. New Create, as we're calling it today, will be a single add-in, and based on your license key or how you're licensed to our Litera software, one or more applications will appear. We are combining Innova and Forte into a single document assembly product. Clause Companion will still be a kind of separate entity, but part of that code base, part of that add-in, and can be deployed to different groups within your firm based on licensing from us. Different things will appear, but again, a single add-in is what we're moving towards.
Okay. It will have the traditional integration with DMS and CRMs, integration with external content providers, as I showed for the platform. Same thing with external data providers. It's going to have a streamlined template and content designer UI, and all of the design for both templates and content will be 100% codeless, as it was in Forte. So let's go through a couple of the workflows here. For creating documents, we'll talk about creating single documents with or without data. multiple documents with or without data, and its relationship to the content library. So let me start that up, and then I have to switch again to the second screen. And Matt just confirmed for me that we're up here.
We're good.
Wow, I learned how to do that. Amazing.
You're a fast study, Dan. We always knew it.
Okay, so let me go into full screen on this. And that's probably not the right thing to do, given that it's not large enough. Let me see if I can get this up on the large screen. This is going to be better here. Okay, you should be able to see it again. Is that correct?
Yeah, still got it.
Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about the new interface here. The new document dialog looks something like this at this point. Notice you have lots of categories for yourself here. Recents, favorites. You can browse the entire library of content and templates. And you have access to particular categories. This is customizable by the firm, so firm can put up the different categories. And you can obviously choose the category you want. Notice that some categories have lots of content. As you know, typically there are dozens, if not hundreds of pleadings available. And there's search capability to limit the list. If you go to browse, you'll see the entire tree as well. And for those of you who are in Clause Companion or Forte, this is very similar. The same metaphor is applied here. But if I wanted to create a document and I wanted to create a letter, for example, I could clear out the list, find the one that I want, select it, and create it, in which case you'll get our editing task pane. You'll be able to enter data, and then you click finish it off, and we have a nice letter to Avanish. Let's go through doing one with data. So that was just standard workflow without data. Let's do one with data. So I'll select the pleading. In this case, I'll just click on pleading here, and now I'll choose from a data set. Now these are data sets that you store. In Innova, these are called quick fills. In Forte, it's saved data. And so you can choose from your saved data sets here. You could type through the list. You can imagine that you might have dozens, if not hundreds, of these data items. So you can search here, typing, in this case, they were named with client matter information. So I typed the client, I would get Smith, and then I could choose which one I wanted. I could also go and get external data. So if I go to the ellipse here, I'll get the dialog for seeing saved data here. It's the same as you'll see as you saw in the drop-down, or you could go to your client matter data, which is your external data source, which are typically your case management systems. But I've selected a piece of content, I've selected some data, and I'm going to create. It's going to populate the data to the degree that it can in the document. You would finish out the rest, if anything, and then click finish, and you'd have your finished content. All right, let's do multiple documents now. So I'll go ahead and I'll select letter this time. As you'll see, there's a little checkbox that you can check. And if you look at the bottom now, it's building a list of selected templates. I can go to pleadings now and watch the list. If I hover over this, I get the checkbox, I check it. I now have a list that's being built. Obviously, there'll be some limit to how high up the list can go, but then you'll get scroll capabilities, but you'll be able to select as many templates or documents as you would like. You would then go ahead and choose a data source. In this case, I'll just type out a data source here. I'll type Hoyer, it filters out to Hoyer. So I now have Smith versus Hoyer as the data source. I'll go ahead and create. I would get the multiple documents. In Forte, we have this right now as packets. So in essence, these are ad hoc packets that you can create. And finally, just some improvement to favorites from how we did it in Forte. In Forte, you didn't have the ability to prompt for a data on insertion with your favorites. That was particularly a gap when you put packets on your favorite list. So now we have the ability to prompt for data for any of the items in your favorites. I'll go ahead and select one right now. You'll get that same data dialog. You get to choose either your internal or external data. You click OK. It's the same workflow. It fills in as much as it can. You fill in the rest, and you click Finish. Fair enough on the workflows. Let's go back to let's see, we have 8 minutes. I think we're in pretty good shape. So those are the workflows. Oh, one thing I didn't show is the relationship to the content library. So let me see if I can just quickly show you that. I ended the demo a bit earlier, but in each case, obviously, after you finish inserting a particular piece of content, that's just your first draft, you then have access to the content library. And this is precisely what we have in Clause Companion now. We will, as we do in Forte, we show both, we both have the ability to specify paragraph level content and document level content that will be available if you have both Clause Companion and Forte. You'll be able to have that in the task pane as well. The new document dialog will only show the template and document type content that you have. That would include all your anonymized content as well. So if you anonymize a particular document to create your templates, then those would be available in the new document dialog as well. So it's good that I point that out. But let's get back to the PowerPoint here, and let's talk about moving beyond the desktop and what the web platform actually offers us. Our Create desktop app, as I said, it leverages all its functionality from the web platform. And the nice thing about the web platform is that it's client agnostic. So we can offer Litera Create browser apps, phone apps, iOS apps. It doesn't matter because all that functionality is based in the platform itself. And as I mentioned earlier, the platform itself has UI support. So for example, a client application can request the UI configuration for that letter or that pleading. And then the client application, which might be browser-based or phone-based, can render that, that UI in its own application. So there is that support in the web platform. We can have other products leverage Create's APIs. So Litera products and non-Litera products. So Transact might integrate its or have Create handle its document creation functionality. And you would just request completed documents, merging a data set, passing in a data set, which you can get from the external source through the web platform into content. As I said, you can create like UIs using the API, and you can access third-party client matter data that way. And clients can build their own Create front-end applications as well, as long as they have access to the API. So let's just take a quick look. We have 5 minutes. Matt, I can't believe we're in good enough shape here to do this, but we are. So we'll talk about a particular example here of how we might leverage browser apps with the Create web platform. Let's take a look at the client intake form, how we do it today in Forte, and how the new Create would handle it. So in Forte, we have a demo franchise agreement data sheet that we could send to a client. So if I were to go ahead and if I were to do this, wanting to give this to a client to fill out, I would insert that piece of content into a Word document, basically create a new document out of that. And once I do that, I would attach that to an email to that person, obviously write him or her some instruction. I would send that to that person. And what I would get back is the filled out Word document. This is what we have today in the Forte product. I would then go as a Forte user, having received this from the client, I would go to Forte, and I would show the task pane and confirm that all the information is actually in this document. And then I would save off that data set. So I'd go down and click Save Data, be prompted for a name, type it in, I'd store it out. And then it appears as data in Forte right now for use. And I could use that to generate all sorts of documents. But notice the manual sort of process, it's all word-based. And now I'll switch off to doing how we would treat this in Create using the Create web platform. In this case, we have that franchise agreement data sheet again, but rather than inserting it into a document, I would, for example, copy a web link to the clipboard, which means that for any piece of content in the desktop app that's visible in the desktop app, it's potentially visible in another client application, for example, a browser. And so we could copy out this web link, and instead of attaching the actual document that we had inserted in Forte into an email, we could put the link in there, or we could put it in that link in through a chat. In this case, I put it as a hyperlink here, and I'm sending it to that person again. That person then has it, they receive it from me, and they can click the link, at which point they get that same franchise data sheet agreement. Now, this is a different front-end application that's harnessing the Create web platform using the same database that's behind there, so it has access to these pieces of content. Obviously, there are security issues that need to be addressed, but that's from a technical perspective, that's all doable. The user would then fill this out. They would then submit that form. And if I were full screening it, that submit button would actually show up right away. They would submit that form. They'd get the requisite.
Dan, and your camera got pointed down for some reason.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was trying to get that button. Is that better?
Yeah, you got it.
Thanks. Get the requisite thank you. And then that's all that needs to happen. Now that data is available on the desktop right away. So the user who had requested that data from the firm now has access to it. They would, for example, they might want to create a letter, and it should be in their data source. So if I drop down that data source, you'll see that now we have John Smith Corporation. That was who was filled out. I could do the filtering again to get that. And I see only the Smiths. And then I would create it. And the data that was filled out in that form now has been used to populate the new letter that we're creating. And obviously, when we finish it, we would get the completed letter. And I think that that gives you a sense of the types of expansion to the application set that Create offers. Because we're client agnostic at this point, you can create any sort of app, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on the in a browser, different operating system, and harness the same sort of content creation services and workflows that are available typically on the desktop. And that's it, Matt. We're at 11:30.
Right on time. So thanks everybody for attending today. What I would say, everything Dan showed today is currently being worked on by us here at Litera. My guess is you probably have some questions. This medium doesn't allow for Q&A sessions. If you have questions, we want to hear them. We want to continue to work with the customer base to evolve this particular product line. We're investing a lot of time and energy in it. So please do reach out to your CSMs. They'll get in contact with us, or sales, or whomever you know at Litera. They'll find us. We'll be in contact with you. As we make progress on this product line, we'll continue to do these Litera TV episodes. Thanks for attending. Look out for more product integration series coming to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, all.